Welcome to Winds of Change. I am your host, Emy Digrappa. Winds of Change is brought to you by Wyoming Humanities. In this series, we are talking to Native American leaders, thinkers, and storytellers. Join us as we celebrate the rich histories, cultures, and voices of Native Americans. In this episode, my special guest is Jhane Myers. Myers is a member of the Comanche and Blackfeet nations. She's an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, producer, and artist who is recognized for her passion to preserve the culture and legacies of Native American communities. She is a traditional doll maker, a jeweler, a regalia maker, and a fashion designer. When it comes to craftsmanship, performance, family tradition, historical research, and advancement of Native causes, Jhane projects the complex beauty of the Native American way of life. Welcome, Jhane.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I have so many fun, wonderful things I want to ask of you and talk to you about. But first, I want to hear where you were raised.
I was raised all over, kind of. I'm originally from Oklahoma. I lived like Oklahoma, LA, Santa Fe, but I make my home now in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I've been here since 2007.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did you grow up on a reservation? Because you have a Comanche and Blackfeet. You're a member of both tribes, or you can only be
No,
member.
you can only be enrolled in one tribe. So I'm enrolled in the Comanche Nation. And there are no reservations in Oklahoma because at one time, Oklahoma was all one big reservation until everybody else decided they wanted this land. So we do have tribal homelands, and instead of a reservation, we each got, well, not me because I wasn't an original Lachi, but let's say my great grandparents or great great grandparents were original Lachi. So they were awarded on the Comanche side 160 acres. So all of that gets passed down, through lineage, which is good. So you can sell your land or you can retain your land, but your land is still under, if you still have your land, then it's, still under federal like kind of regulation if you choose to keep it.
Oh, okay.
It's called trust land.
Trust land. Okay.
Mhm.
So is most of your family still in Oklahoma, or have they moved around too?
Pretty much. I went to college in Texas, so I lived in Texas for a while. It just kind of no one ever asked me that question. So kudos to you for asking me questions that make me think. So I appreciate that. No, the majority of my family, is in, I guess, in Oklahoma and New Mexico.
So how do you hold on to your Native American roots and culture and traditions?
Because it's something that's instilled in you when you're raised in our tradition, and you're raised traditionally. It's something that you pass on to your children. It's something that we share with other tribes, because working on this Leonard Peltier project, I've been able to go to several ceremonies, up in South Dakota, Lakota ceremonies, and there was a ceremony for him when he came home, which is great. I guess it's just second nature. It's part of you. So it's not a chance of like holding on to it or losing it. If you're raised that way, you'll always have it.
Oh, that's beautiful. I guess my next question is why Texas? Why did you choose to go to school in Texas?
Oh my gosh, because I thought I just want to get out of Oklahoma and see more, and that was the closest place. And I did go to Texas, and that's how I got into the fashion industry, working as an executive for different brands and different lines right after school. And I just wanted to go to Texas. Just, I don't know.
It's great. Obviously, you're adventurous and you're not afraid and you want to try new things. I think when I was reading your bio and thinking about the fact that you went right out of school, so your degree must have been in fashion design or something, because you went right to work for Yves Saint Laurent. Was that
No, no, I was studying fashion,
okay?
and then I decided, well, maybe I should go into marketing. So my degree is, in marketing and merchandising. And then actually my first job was for Ocean Pacific, which is now known as PacSun. But later I was able to work for Ralph Lauren. I
Well,
worked for Ralph Lauren for 9 years, which is kind of nice because Ralph Lauren goes full circle. But what you said about me not being afraid to do things, and so I'm a Plains Indian, right? I'm Comanche is Southern Plains, Blackfeet is Northern Plains, but Comanches were known to be nomadic, we were one of the first tribes to have horses. So we had a huge area. We ranged from the Yucatan Peninsula all the way up through Idaho. So we had a huge trade route, and we traveled all the time. So I always just chalk it up to, part of my, my blood memory, I guess, being nomadic and being able to, not be afraid to go in different places.
I think that's so great. And I think there is some, I've been reading a lot about that, about what's in your blood that you carry forward genetically, that your children will carry forward. And they used to have this idea that, a child was born and they were a blank slate, but that is not true. There's so much that they carry forward from their past. And it's been just truly an interesting study. And I love that you got into regalia making. That's its whole other thing, because marketing is one thing, but then starting on this artistry journey that you've been on, what was the first sign that you were going to take that path to become an
I
artist?
think I think it's just something that we always have, because like our clothing, our traditional clothing, you can't go to a store and buy it. You can't go to a mall, or you can't go to a store, you can't order it online. Everything has to be handmade. So my grandmother was like phenomenal. She was a phenomenal seamstress, but she also knew how to make traditional wear, which we call traditional arts. And I started just watching her. I started watching her make moccasins. I made little moccasins for my dolls. I made little outfits for my dolls, or for my stuffed animals. I mean, I think that because that's how you learn. Then as I got older and I learned how to sew, it got a little better. And then when I took some fashion classes, and of course, you have to know how to sew to do that. And you're on these big industrial machines. I kind of was able to add some things to my traditional wear, because I'm a competitor. I don't know if he told you that, but I compete at powwows. And so I added some things, I guess, fashion wise, or added some little extra things because I knew how to do that, which was kind of cool. So it's a little different. I kind of customized my own outfit, even though they are already customed. So yeah, I just started doing that. We learned from each other. I've been able to study in various, like the first fellowship I ever got was to the Field Museum in Chicago. So I was able to go there and study in collections, and you can just look at everything, see how it was made, touch it, feel it. How did they sew it? Was it sewed with sinew? Was it sewed with thread? Depending on, where that came from. And I guess it just developed and it just moved on. I had children, so then I was making things for my children, and then making their outfits and entering them. And my children are all competitive dancers as well. Then I started entering in art shows when I was married to a full-time artist, and I made things for museums. So I never really had to do the art show circuit. So I started doing that, which was pretty fun. And on a collaborative piece, I won Best of Show at the Heard Market. That's pretty prestigious down in Phoenix at the Heard Museum.
What did you win Best of Show in? Because I've read that you're a doll maker.
So that those would go under diverse arts. They're usually
Okay.
not everybody has traditional art categories, so that was under a diverse art category.
Okay. I think it's so interesting because yeah, I grew up sewing. My oldest sister is a wonderful seamstress, and she just recently sold her home in Albuquerque, actually, and moved back to Colorado because my parents are in their 90s now. Deborah, she never even had to follow a pattern. She could just look at something and sew it and decide what it was going to be. And, I know the Native American way is to use the word regalia, but I grew up dancing, but we always use the word costume. So,
Like think about Halloween. We wear costumes, right, to be something that we're not.
mhm,
And so it's a more dignified thing because this is our traditional clothing. So
mhm,
it's not really a costume.
mhm,
It's your traditional clothing. And all of our native things, we don't have patterns as well. We just
mhm.
when we cut hides and square hides and mark the grain, we don't have patterns either. We just hand cut it. And once you cut it in buckskin, if you make a mistake, that's going to be a terrible, costly mistake because hides are really expensive.
Wow, that's going to be a costly mistake. Yes,
So don't
indeed.
make a mistake. Think about
Yeah,
it
yeah.
before you do it.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because Deborah used to sew all of our dresses and everything because we did traditional Mexican dance.
Hmm.
and Spanish dance, and flamenco was my favorite. But Deborah played the castanets so beautifully. Just,
Oh,
it was fantastic. Anyway, I just love that you're a dancer and that you compete. And what is your dance that you do?
Southern Buckskin, but it's called like Southern Women's Traditional. I just saw Dave weekend before last in Denver, and I won first place in Denver.
You
Mhm.
did?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
I
congratulations.
was going to show you. I have a jacket over here. I've got like my little, when you win, you to the first place winner gets a jacket to go with the prized money. So hang on, I'll grab it. The best aerobics possible. So see, this is the this year's jacket from Denver March Powwow.
Oh my gosh.
And on the front it says Denver March
Champion dancer.
champion dancer. So all the then on the back it has their big logo.
Oh my God. That is
Yeah.
cool.
So
I'm
it's always kind of
so
cool to wear
excited
those.
to see you at the powwow.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'll be real exciting.
So you're also a doll maker, and it says you're a jewelry maker.
Yes.
And so what kind of jewelry do you make? And what is the traditional doll style that you are?
So the jewelry, I do silversmithing. My great aunt that helped raise me was Josephine Myers Wapp, WAPP, and she was a founding faculty at the Institute of American Indian Arts here in Santa Fe. So she kind of always raised me around arts and to be in the arts. And she said, anywhere that you go, you should try to learn some of like whatever art, that they do, the native people do in that region. So I took 2.5 years of silversmithing at the Poe Center here in Santa Fe, and I learned to silversmith. So I make bracelets, but since I've been producing, I don't really have much time to do that. But it was really nice to make jewelry and to make silver work. So I just learned to do that, which was fun. And then dolls, I just make this traditional soft body dolls, and sew the hair on, and then they're dressed in little Comanche or Blackfeet outfits. I do two different kinds, but I haven't, made the dolls in a while either.
Oh my gosh. Well, you've been on an artistic journey.
Very much so. And I think that's what helps me as a producer because I can draw from all these different things. I'm kind of like a one-stop shop where I don't have to just be like, oh, we'll have to find who to contact. And if I do have to contact somebody, since I've worked with museums, I have everybody on my text and we can be in a meeting and I'll text somebody and ask a question that we need to answer to. And I immediately get a response. And people are like, how did you get an answer that quick? And I'm like, because I just texted the head curator and they said this and this. And everybody's
Right.
always surprised. They're like, oh my God, like you just texted them? I'm like, yeah.
That is great. Oh my gosh. So I want to hear about that journey because that's a whole nother journey in how you got into filmmaking and film production.
I initially started in a marketing department. So I worked well, kind of go way back. So I guess I should say I worked for the state of Oklahoma. I worked for the governor's office for a centennial, and I was over American Indian projects for the centennial. And every time I would go meet with tribes, there are 39 federally recognized tribes in Oklahoma, 39, and over 100 casinos, may I say. So when I would go visit tribes, they would always try to hire me for their projects. And I would say, I can't because I work for the state and you're my constituency. So I eventually, after the centennial planning was over, I started my own little thing, Jhane Myers and Associates. And I became a private PR company. So I was engaged by many tribes to work with large companies or to, help them flesh out their ideas. And that was pretty fun. So I started handling because we have so many casinos. I had Larry Gatlin was my first big music client. I never had a music client before. And then my first actual film client or movie star client was Mel Gibson. So I worked on Apocalypto with Mel Gibson and I was hired by Disney. And so I think at the time I was probably the only Native American PR company in the United States. So anytime they had something that had Native content, they always hired me. So I got to see from, like when the films were finished and I got to see how people worked. I got to meet producers, directors, actors, lots of people. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is almost kind of like what I'm doing, planning these events and doing things in PR. I bet I could do a film. So I started out doing documentaries. Well, I worked on Apocalypto was my first PR project, and then I started doing associate directing. And I worked on LaDonna Harris, Indian 101, and I also did the PR for it because PR was my background, and just went from there. One project to another to another. You may know, being Hispanic, you may know Karen Ochoa, K, and it's two A's, Aaren Ochoa. She lives here and she's like a very well-known producer, a woman producer, because you don't see a lot of women producers. And she was my mentor. So I asked her early on, I want to be a producer. How can I do this? And I want to be successful. She said, go to work. Just go to work, take whatever producing job they offer you. If it's line producing, if it's associate producing, if it's executive producing, if it's creative producing. So now I'm a creative producer and I prefer to do that, within jobs because I've done everything else. But I prefer to be a creative producer. But she's an amazing mentor, and look her up if you can. She's got an amazing body of work, and she's an amazing mentor.
You have just been on this road of discovery.
It's been great. It's been great.
Yeah, not afraid. Just try the next thing, try a new thing. Never be
I
bored.
think I can do this. Let me try this.
What do your kids think about that?
It's funny. They think I can do anything, which is kind of cute when kids are growing up because they think, oh, all children think their parents are invincible and can do anything. But, now that they're adults, my children are adults now, they're all just like, oh my gosh, how did you do this? And then you raised us too, and you traveled and did this and that. I mean, and when I had my PR company, they came to a lot of my, I would have them at my events or have them. So they always knew and saw me working. So they all have really good work ethics, which I'm grateful for, and just because they always saw me working.
Isn't that true? When a mom works, and I know my kids are grateful for that because, well, first of all, they used to give me such a hard time because I was a working mom and I was a single mom. And so I had a list of chores that had to be done. Dinner was every kind of quesadilla you can imagine. It was easy, it was quick, all this stuff. A pot of beans and chili and rice, that's what you're eating all the time. And
We
it's
lived by a Luby's, and I used to call Luby's my kitchen because we would just go by there and eat really quick because the girls were in Girl Scouts. Philip was in basketball. I mean, everybody had schedules, right? So I was like, oh my God, then I would be working as well. So I get it
oh,
totally.
I know. When I see moms that struggle, I know that they have to get home and their kids want a hot meal. That's why fast food became a thing because, no matter how horrible it is, which I would never let my kids go to fast food. They used to tease me about that. But, you've got to get something in their tummies like now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was thinking about that because I used the word hodgepodge the other day, and my kids used to say that was Friday because we would have hodgepodge, and they could pick from the fridge whatever they wanted to eat. And they'd warm up all these different things. They'd be eating spaghetti and something else. And, just different whatever we had leftovers. So they like that hodgepodge word.
So, Jhane, tell me about the film you're working on right now, the production you're doing right now.
So right now we just finished. Well, actually, we're adding a new ending to Free Leonard Peltier, the Leonard Peltier film. And
Okay.
so that was something that was really important to me because it's a story that has crossed so many generations of Native people. He was a longest serving political prisoner in the United States. And he just got a commutation from President Joe Biden. Thank you, Joe Biden. And that happened in the 11th hour. That's my new 11th hour story because Biden pushed that through 16 minutes before they have the peaceful transfer of power. When one president gives the other president the keys to the castle, that's called a peaceful transfer of power. And that paperwork for Peltier got pushed through with 16 minutes to spare before that noon deadline in the East Coast time. So that was pretty amazing. I worked on that viewed at Sundance, and our premiere was the Monday after the Monday of Biden's commutation. So we already had an email ready to go to Sundance to ask them if because of this new thing, could we possibly add some footage on the end. And they said, of course. So we're probably like, we probably have the record for the latest film that has been ready for Sundance because we completed that ending 36 hours before the premiere. So that was pretty busy. But when he actually walked out of prison, and because like when they have a commutation, it was up another month before he could get out of prison. We had a film crew there, and then I was up in North Dakota when he landed, and he went into his home for the first time in over 50 years. It's a heavy story, but it's a pretty huge story for Native people.
Yeah.
I'm sure for decades you've seen signs and bumper stickers and everything free Leonard Peltier.
So what was your inspiration to produce Prey, the film that you produced in 1983? Was that your first film that you produced?
Prey wasn't in 1983. Prey was in 19, God, no, Prey was in 2022. I worked on 1883, which was
I
Taylor
think I was
Sheridan's
getting your bio mixed up.
film.
I just lost a decade. Sorry.
Yes, I was like, wait a minute, I've been in this longer than what I think. Oh, I wish I would have started film earlier, but I'm grateful for the journey that I had because it gave me such a diverse background
Mhm.
to be able to do the work that I'm doing now. I have like a very diverse background. So Prey, which
Mhm.
came out in 1920, now you got me 2022. We shot it during the pandemic. We started in early 21. Well, actually, we started in 20, I should say. Yeah, November. Yeah, like November, I think I got the job and we started working then. And then we moved. Because the borders were closed in Canada, I had to live for 6.5 months up in Calgary in Canada while the borders were closed during the pandemic. That was interesting. I've never made a film that way and probably won't unless we have another pandemic. Let's hope that we don't. But it was pretty interesting. It launched the career of Amber Midthunder, who now has 2 movies in the theaters right now. She has Opus and she has Novocaine. To me, it was great because we had been on lockdown because of the pandemic for a while. And I like to be outdoors. I don't like to be indoors. And so it allowed me to be outside every day and to be working and shooting and putting what I know, our Comanche culture and all of our Comanche nuances into a film. I wanted to make something that was inspiring for young Comanche youth. I wanted because kids are so impressed by what's on television or what's in the movies, or they're so impressed by that. I wanted to show our culture because being a Comanche, what do you think when you hear Comanche, or just Google Comanche? We're fierce warriors. We rode in, took what we wanted, burned everything, rode back out. Nobody ever really knew us as a people and the culture and how we relate to people as family. And so I wanted to really show that. And I wanted to show the language component because nobody realizes every tribe has their own language. So you have 562 tribes. And so those 562 languages. And, no one has ever heard, like in movies, I guess like what our real language and what it sounds like when we're talking to each other. And to me, that was a huge coup. That's one of the beauties of being on streaming, because if you can listen to it in German or French or Spanish, I think you should have an option to listen to it in the tribal language.
Oh, absolutely. So Wyoming Humanities worked with Disney, and I think it was around that time, not 2003, but probably more like 1983, that they created the Bambi in the Arapaho language. They took the Disney movie and they created it in the Arapaho language. And so I showed that last year at the Center for the Arts in Jackson Hole. It was great because to see the animals talking in Arapaho was absolutely wonderful. But
1994.
1995, okay. Yeah, I'm just making dates up, Jane. But anyway,
That's okay. But here's the cool thing. So when that dubbing was done, did you work on that?
no,
Or
I
you
wasn't with the humanities at that time.
okay. So at the time the movie had already been finished, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Navajos did the same thing with Star Wars and with Finding Nemo. Those films had already been completed. So now a new precedent has been set with Prey that a brand new movie can be in the native language at the time of release. And
That
since then, we've had others. We've had Resball, was dubbed into on Netflix. It was dubbed into Navajo at the time of release. If you give me a project that's already been done, that's picture locked, and then give me 6 months or whatever to do it, that's easy. But to do it at the same time that you're actually doing a film is difficult. I mean, I can do it easier now, but that was my first time to ever do something like that.
That's amazing. So you were actually filming the movie in Comanche.
No, we dubbed it in Comanche.
Oh, you dubbed it in Comanche. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's been dubbed.
So here's my last question, because I think this is really important. How are your people passing on their language to the young people? How are the elders passing on the Comanche language?
Sure, you can go to our website, and we do have a Comanche language program. We have dictionaries, we have classes. We're training new speakers. I mean, as you know, as you and I are doing this, there are new speakers in training. We have a Comanche immersive school for our children. It's called the Comanche Nation Charter School. And actually, I was a producer on a fundraising film that we have for the Comanche Nation Charter School. And now, because of Pray, because I grew up in my Comanche homelands, in my homelands, like we never, in our schools, never talked about language or Comanche history. Now it's taught K through 12 in the Lawton, Oklahoma County area.
Wow.
So, I mean, I think it's going pretty well.
Yes, that is excellent and wonderful.
Yes.
So important to teach the language. And I know the Shoshone and Arapaho people are really working on that. A lot of the Shoshone language has been lost. And the Arapaho people are really working to preserve and teach their language and really not let the elders pass on without passing it on.
Yes, the Shoshones have dictionaries. At one time, Shoshones and Comanches were the same tribe. So we have the same, very similar language. It's a Uto-Aztecan based language, which also goes with the Ute tribes as well. They have similar words, but we're very close. We're a sister tribe to the Shoshones. So every year we have a Shoshone and Comanche reunion, and it bounces back from year to year. So either they go down to our Comanche homelands and spend that long weekend or spend that week with us, or we take a group up and we spend a week there. So it kind of goes back and forth, Shoshone Comanche reunion.
Oh, that's really interesting. Do you know Lynette St. Clair?
Yes, I do. We haven't met, but she worked with my daughter, Pishon Bread, because she did some language translations for a couple of films. I think one of them was American Primeval, and another, I can't remember maybe Outer Range, because my daughter Pishon was a producer on the Outer Range, and she worked with Lynette. So she connected us, and we've like texted and briefly spoke and talked about different ways on how to do this, because she was new to doing this. In like, there's no like, well, now we do have our ways to do it. But before, like if you're a linguist coming from a tribe, how do you know and how fast do you have to work in order to get things translated and to, do things for film, right? But yeah, she was really great to meet. I mean, to talk to. And she was here in Santa Fe for a while. So she knows my daughter, Pishon Bread.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to be talking to Lynette later on in the week, which.
Oh, she's done some amazing work. She really has. I hope I get to meet her, because I think I'm coming up there. When I come up there, I get to spend a day.
So thank you so much, Jhane. I really, really appreciate your time. It's been so
Sure.
talking to you.
It's been nice to talk to you.